Guys, we're talking about Palworld.
Palworld.
Yes, the Palworld, the very not only high selling game, but controversial game. Noah, how much time have you put into this game?
More than I'd like to admit, but I think hours-wise, it's about 130.
How did you hear about this game? Did you think that you were gonna jump into it?
Oh, I've had this on my stream watch list for over 2 years. So I
Okay.
originally saw the concept video about it way back, late COVID, whenever that came out, and I've been following it. I didn't even know it was to become a game, and then it became like it was you pop it up on your stream, or your Steam wish list, and I've been following it since, watching the data, watching it come out. I've been ready for this.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Hmm.
I definitely had it wish listed for a little bit just after I saw one of the trailers. But yeah, this has been on a lot of people's radars apparently, as it has sold like somewhere around like 10 million copies in the first couple of weeks or so, which is absolutely fantastic.
Ridiculous.
And to give you guys perspective, I have played maybe like 6-ish hours. I'm getting into it though. I'm really getting into it. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that. So going into the game, wow, what did you expect? Going right into it before you had anything.
I expected to be honestly swamped by different pals. I'd be careful calling pals. Swamped by different pals,
Yeah.
and I
Guys,
just wanted
we're
to
gonna
go.
try really hard not to say the other terms for this video.
Copyright. But
Right.
I expected to go guns a-blazing. I was ready to just hunt and gather and do all that intense stuff. I was good at
Yeah.
all the things
Yeah.
you would think about when you're watching all these previews, for sure.
No, dude, yeah, 100%. That's pretty much what I thought too. I honestly thought it was gonna be like very similar to the other similar franchise where you go from like town to town doing stuff.
Yeah, getting a starter pal to help you out, that you keep
Right.
lifelong benefits with.
Yeah. But yeah, the game starts you off, throws you right on ye old cliff in your underpants, and you just start going. You just start figuring stuff out.
Yep, and there's not a tutorial.
Yeah, no
At
no
all.
tutorial. I don't
Yeah,
even think was
really.
there a beginning cutscene? I don't think there was a beginning cutscene.
No,
Just
there's
yeah.
the storyline's not even there. As you see later in the game, you'll get like these cards that you can pick up off little authors that are like supposed to give you like backstory and lore. But
Yep.
I didn't even know where to find them after you collected them until I looked up online how to see them. So there's like no lore, no
yeah.
story, not really anything. You're kind of just there.
Yeah, they're like the little codex things, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
someone else was here before. Yeah, I
Yep.
know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Keep in mind, for you guys watching, it is an early access game, so one day there probably will be cutscenes. I would hope. When it comes to games that throw you in an open world, the first thing I'm doing is seeing who I can hit. Who can I kill immediately? So I'm in my underwear. I walk up to this chick. What they say? They said something about me not looking prepared. So I was like, that's fighting words. I punch them in the face. Next thing you know, there's like a bunch of like. Have you done that at all? Have you punched anyone?
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
the first thing I did was just hunt and destroy it. I was just like you said. I really
Yeah.
wanted just to punch a Pokemon. I punched a Pokemon first, I think, even before I talked to anybody.
Yep.
But yeah,
Dude.
definitely
Yeah.
going around hitting things.
And like, did you have like cops come after you? There's like cops.
Yep. So it has like
Yeah.
a scale that like just like in a Grand Theft Auto. After you
Yep.
hit someone, it keeps going up and up, and the people that attack you are stronger and stronger. Uh, but they go up pretty strong. They go up to after 20 hits or warning alerts, you get level 50 bosses that have or people that have like better weapons attacking you.
Dude, yeah, no, it's insane. Like, I went up and I was like, yo, I'm kind of, I might actually kill this person. And then all of a sudden, this like cop with a shotgun runs up to me, and I'm like, okay, they're not doing that much damage. That's how I dodge. Okay, so I keep punching and punching, and next thing you know, there's like 3 cops, and now I'm just like running down the hill in my underwear. And yeah, that was my first.
You're not gonna
That was
make
my
it,
first
yeah.
5 minutes. So
Yeah, sounds probably about right for most players. I assume they're probably gonna kill everybody.
right, right.
Because, well,
'Cause
your
it's like
first
I don't.
instinct,
Yeah.
like all the other games, your first instinct, oh, there's a person with armor. If I kill them, I get their armor.
Right, right. I'm thinking like, oh, what? I want that person's shotgun. I'll kill them for it. I don't
Yeah.
see any other options right now, so I'll just do that. But yeah, so getting into the actual game itself, I'm assuming that we had very different playthroughs. I guess first off, for those new players at home watching, Noah, what are your hashtag top 10 things I wish I knew before playing the game?
Don't build your base right away and spend time upgrading your base right away without catching other pals and understanding why a base is important. Because the first thing I did is I actually went backwards and went to the ocean area and I built my first base and I spent so much time grinding resources just to upgrade the base and to get things. I
Dude.
wish I would have just went forward, caught different pals, and then found good places to put bases.
Yeah.
That's by far. Don't waste your time grinding resources when you can have pals do it for you. Number one.
Dude, 100% agree, bro. So you told me that before I started playing, but I kind of forgot about it until like maybe an hour or two in. So my base was like, well, actually, now that you mention it, do we start in different areas? Because right behind me there was like a big old castle.
Oh yeah, so no, you go through the castle and you keep going down it.
Oh, and then there's like an ocean. Okay.
Then there's the beach and there's actually like a one of those dungeon entrances. So I built it there because like, oh, there's a dungeon entrance and there's like those PAL fragments.
Right.
I didn't know how rare PAL fragments are, but I never saw any till then. So I was like, oh, I need these. So I built the base,
yeah. Dude, yeah. So my mistake was that I jumped into the game. And then I was like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do. Looked at my menu, I was like, okay, build a base. So I didn't realize how important the base was gonna be, because I'm used to playing like if you played like Starfield or Fallout, you can kind of just scatter bases. So it's like, oh, here's a foreign piece of a rock. Here's a base. Throw a couple people over there. I'll go over here. Here's another base. I didn't realize it was just one. So I threw one down like.
Oh, you can have up to 3.
Okay.
So that's
good.
Eventually you get 3, but you'll put them in very strategic locations. I promise you.
Yeah. So yeah, this first one's definitely not in a strategic location because it's
No.
like right in the beginning area. But yeah, so my first mistake after that was I built my entire base and just did a little bit, and then I started exploring, and then I was like, oh my gosh, there's a castle back here. And then I literally started building everything in the castle. So, like, not in my base. So I spent, like, an hour, like, building a house. I was like, yes, this will be my throne. Only to find out, like, because part of the test was like, put a bed here. And then I put a bed down, and I was like, it didn't count for the... Why didn't it count?
It has to be
to find out base, it has to be in the base, and I was like, son of a... Okay.
Now, technically, you could have moved your base there. You can get rid of those PAL ports, and then you could have put it inside that castle, but that's a different story.
Yeah, another thing I didn't realize until later on.
Too late, yeah.
Yeah, because I thought about that, so I went back to the PAL decks, or PAL box or whatever.
PAL box, yeah.
And again, this is the time where all I've done is collect resources. I haven't done anything else. So I'm still in my underwear. I'm naked with just my fists. So I just start punching the thing. I'm like, all right, I just got to break it real quick. And that thing, I don't know if you've ever tried punching that before, dude. It has 20,000 health. Like, dude, I was like smashing that thing. I was like, I'm actually gonna be here for like an hour before this thing blows up. I didn't realize that there was just press the right stick and you can just select it and delete it. So I was like, oh, all right.
Things you wish you knew, yeah.
Yep. But yeah, anything else you wish you knew before getting into it?
How that was like I guess the really biggest one. I guess the other
Yeah.
ones were like different pals and their abilities. Because I didn't look up
Yes.
anything, so I didn't know like, oh, this pal has a really cool ability and this one sucks. You know?
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
you just don't know. And I also like I spent half the game. I didn't even get my first. Eventually, you'll be able to like ride on top of pals, like get like special
Yep.
pal items, and I didn't even know about those until halfway through the game. I was like level 25, and I was like walking
Oh,
everywhere,
really?
and I didn't know I could fly places by getting a flying Pokemon and then building a flying thing and the technology. But also, I don't think until level 8 I realized I could upgrade my stats either when I leveled up.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
I didn't know there was a thing with stats, and I was like, okay.
Yep, yep.
So, and unfortunately, what I did is I put a lot of my stats into building, like, you know, the time spent building something. 'cause
Right,
I,
as you would, yeah.
don't do it.
Yep.
Because you'll just catch the pals that do it for you, that do it, like, Anubis later on. He can build
Yeah.
something in a second that takes you an hour to build. So don't even
Dude.
bother. Just put all your stats into health and damage is all you need.
Yep, 100%, dude. Yeah, I really wish, going back to the certain attributes that the pals have, I really wish that I knew about their specific abilities, because there was one point where I had built, you'll build like a timber area and like a stone area so you can collect those resources. And I would go on like a massive journey where I'm just like walking, I'm catching as many as I can. And then I'd come back and I'd be like, I have like 400 stones. I don't have a single piece of wood. Like, so
Oh,
I'm like
yeah,
looking around.
yep.
I'm like, what the heck? So I started like, I was like looking it up. I was like, I would just like pick one up. I just chuck it at, just chuck it over at the trees. I'm like, do it. Turns out you need one specifically. Certain pals do certain things.
Yeah.
Which I really like that idea. Like there was the little fire fox or whatever. It's like, oh, it's really good at starting fires and all that stuff. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, that's cool. So there was one like little 30-minute time of play that I did where I was like, oh, I got to find little monkeys because they do the lumbering. So, you know, I had to go out of my way to find those. So definitely wish I knew all that stuff before as well. And I think as the more and more updates come out, they'll get better at explaining a lot of that stuff too.
I'm
So,
sure there'll be once the full game's out, there'll be a traditional tutorial.
Yeah. It won't just like pop you in and have a bunch of cops chasing me.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that myself.
Because, well, they did, if you notice, the same company that made Palworld also made a different survival game as well.
Yes.
So they actually, this is like, I feel like this game is kind of like the mix between a survival game like Ark and then
Yep.
like the other P game in which we will not mention. It's like,
You're
it's like it's like putting them together, and I feel like it's kind of, they have to develop it more because right now it's honestly kind of a mess between what's more important in the game.
Yeah, I 100% agree. As I do really like the crafting, I definitely felt like I spent a little too much. I spent more time on it than I wish than I wanted to. I think like I really enjoyed going out, collecting and exploring, and I did enjoy the building aspect of it. But I feel like the emphasis on the building is just a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's just all the time spent gathering all the random resources.
Dude, yeah, like it got to the point where I would go up to a tree and I would just like be on my phone. I just like hold X, just
Yeah.
so they just keep thwacking at it, you know,
Yeah,
until I get enough wood.
I'm hoping they make improvements to the bases because they do have, you know, the things that you can have the wood and you can have the rock. They get the road and rock for you.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping there's more updates to elaborate the base so you don't have to do any of that because like you can't like assign materials. Like I feel like still late in the game, you know, I was having it where like I had a base that was producing wood, stone, and charcoal, and you know it was producing thousands of each of them every half an hour. I felt like. Then another base I was doing the other resources that you need later in the game, but I just need like a full automation of it because
Yeah.
I felt like I was spending so much time, and you have to do it so often to make bullets. Because like later in the game, the last gun you'll get is the AK-47 or the assault rifle anyway, and that's like the best gun, and it's the most fun. gun. But
Yeah.
you like, unfortunately, you don't get to level 45, which is a whole different issue I have with them. But
Oh.
but you spend so much. The bullets go by so quickly. You spend almost more time making bullets than you do playing the rest, doing anything else.
Oh,
And it's
just
just like,
gathering the resources you need
yeah,
to actually play the game and all that.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I wish there was some more automation on it, or just made it so you got more bang for your buck out of the resources. When they first
Yeah.
started, all the arrows for the bows, where everything was only one resource, and then they changed it really quickly to it being times 5. So you got 5 of everything now. And they did it for the bullets too, but I just wasn't to the bullets yet. So they
Yeah.
adapted it a little bit, but I don't think anyone, I don't know anyone who's ever wanted to grind resources.
Just sit there and grind it out. Yeah.
This isn't RuneScape. I'm sorry, I was done with that back in 2000.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like, I don't mind a little bit of grind, but I feel like it should be an extra benefit. So, for example, like I want to go out and just hunt down as much stuff as I can. Obviously, there has to be a limit to it, but I want the base one for it to have tiny bit less importance, but also just if I need to get the materials, it needs to be not as long of a chore because I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, well, the bases are more, as you saw in the previews that made it look funny. They're not bases; they're factories.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
like you don't design them to be cool. I mean, people do make. I've seen videos of really cool bases and stuff like that, but they don't.
Yeah,
But the cool factor of it doesn't have a purpose. What the factors that really matters is the efficiency. And if it's like a factory, and I'm like, I just don't care. Make it a cool base. If they bring out PvP and the bases turn into like a tower defense kind of situation, that'd be
right.
awesome. Because when the people attack your bases, as long as you have strong Pokemon, it doesn't really matter. You don't need the walls. You don't like. I have a rocket launcher mount on one of my places, but it's never used because my Pokemon are all super strong and they just
Yeah.
kill everyone who comes at you. And
Yep.
it's hard for them to even destroy anything either. And if they do, you just build another one. But
Now,
I wanna
have people just kind of randomly come into your world, or
no. So when people they say from one of the future updates, there's going to be like PvP
oh, I see.
and other stuff like that. But if there was like cool stuff like that, like MMORPG, like Clash of Clans, that other people can invade your
Right,
your
right.
places, then I could see understanding making the bases and building them and all that stuff.
Yep.
But the resources with that, I can understand like going out and collecting like rare resources that like are for
Yes.
specific weapons. But most of the weapons even just take like the same resources. You just have to go out and you see more of them because you get like later on to make polymers to use to make the plastics for your weapons or whatever. You need to get PAL oil, so you just go kill Pokemon with PAL oil, but you need tons of it. Like I needed 500 of one resource to make a rocket launcher light game, and it was
Yeah.
like I spent so long just grinding that one resource. I'd
Right, right.
rather go kill like a really awesome boss that only
Mm.
drops that resource, so that way you get like a cool weapon out of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like I feel like where other games do it really well, it like in Minecraft there's like the bio worlds or whatever. So for example, if you need a certain resource, it's like, oh, I need lava fragments. Oh, I'll go to I found a lava area, and it's just like abundantly everywhere. But it takes you a while to get there in general. And yeah, for some of these, like there are certain PALs that drop certain items, and it just takes so long to do. So there were a few things where I kind of just gave up on it because I'm like, I'm not gonna, spend a half an hour hunting down this specific one just to get like one chance of this certain item. I would rather it just sort of like be a little bit more easily obtainable in the environment itself.
Yeah, I did increase. You can, because of how it's built, you can increase the drop rate of items. So and the speed, like the mining of the rocks, you can't increase the speed at which you do it just by
Yeah,
the
right.
settings. And I did that, and it made the game feel a lot better. The first 10 hours I didn't do that, and it was awful. Also, well, the first 10 hours I also was getting one shot killed because I had the PAL, the player damage on max or something. I was like, oh, that sucks.
All
But
right.
so there's a way you can do it. And they started out for the arrows. which is kind of neat, is that they got like you could get organs from like you got a flame organ, an ice organ, a poison organ, or a venom organ or whatever, and
Yep,
those
yep.
were incorporated to the weapons, and that was kind of neat.
That is cool.
Um,
That part is
but
cool.
you go away once you get to bullets, you just have to get coal, ore, and gun to make gunpowder and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and it's just the same thing for all the other weapons.
Yeah.
Once you get the pistol, it's the same thing.
Like that late into the game, you shouldn't have to grind that much to, just do the normal activities and all that. So
Yeah, and well, by the time you even get to that stage, like I said, the best weapon you get at 45. But you're basically at end game right there because I already defeated the first 3 bosses.
right,
It's just like, oh, I get this. I was just waiting to unlock it because you're not strong. You can't defeat the final 2 bosses without it because you just don't have enough damage output. And no matter what you think, your Pokemon will never do as much damage as your player, which I don't like. They're more,
really.
yeah, your pals are more bullet shields. Late game, they're just bullet shields. Or like there's Pokemon that you can ride, or pals.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh yeah.
pals
No,
that
no.
you can ride that like change your damage. Like I have it's basically a fire pony, but when you ride it, it turns your ammo damage into fire damage.
Oh.
So basically later they basically become a support for your main character, and instead of them being like the big thing,
Right.
Well, once you get the legendaries do so much damage. I guess they help, but you still like when I had my rocket launcher. My rocket launcher does like 10,000 damage a bullet or something.
Right.
So it's basically just me.
Yeah. No, and I noticed that when I was doing the first boss, because I got to them, and that's the spark, big spark rat looking dude.
Gruzzlebolt.
Yeah, that one. And I think the thing that bugged me the most is I was like, okay, I obviously wasn't prepared enough, like to get into it and fight it or whatever. But I was like, I'll give it a try, whatever. So I sent my pal out, and it was for a while. It was like focusing on my pal, but then it killed the first one. So I was like, all right, I'll send out the second one. And as soon as I sent out the second one, I was like, okay, my health is low. I'm gonna hide behind this pillar while it's fighting my pal, and I'll heal up real quick. And it was the funniest thing because obviously when you hit pause, it doesn't pause the game. It's just kind of like it's I think Minecraft does it too, where it's just like, it gives you the menu, but it's not, people can still hit you. So you can see a little bit of the world still. So I was like looking through. I was like, all right, get some berries real quick.
Those don't heal you either.
Right, yeah, and those don't heal you. It's just like they like slow if you're not hungry anymore, they'll like slowly do it. I was like, maybe it'll be enough. And as I'm eating those, bro, freaking immediately my second Pokemon wasn't even dead. It just ignored it. It was like
Right after
this
you,
guy's
yep.
healing over here. Walks up to me, one shots me. I'm like, all right.
Yep.
It's like, I would have preferred you battle the pal I sent out, but I suppose bodying me is a quicker way to victory.
Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah, so right now I'm just working on leveling up and stuff like that. So yeah. What do you think about the battle system just in general now that we're kind of going on to that?
It's way better than its rival has ever done. I do love the
Yeah.
third world running around. I do wish the battle rooms were different because they're all the same. If you go on like later dungeons, you'll see like the battle rooms are identical. I'm sure it's because they haven't
just
put
like
enough
the
time
black
into.
space room or whatever.
Yeah, it's like it's the
Oh,
same
yeah.
for every single one. But in general, I love it. I wish I've actually saw and have been trying to try out the VR version, which is actually a lot more fun.
There's
But
a VR version?
there's a mod in which you can you can VR it. So, but
Okay.
that's pretty cool. But as for the battling goes, I like the fact that you can dodge and roll. It's so much interactive. You run around and you can use your Pokemon's moves to advantage, like flying
Yep.
flying and not flying have its advantages. The
Mhm.
speed of your Pokemon really matter, or pals really matter as you travel around. So there's a lot more strategy involved because of it, and I do really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Targeting, I feel like the pals are always targeting you, like you said,
Yeah.
which is interesting unless you have a pal that can really get involved.
Right. Right.
But they need to amp it because the problem with the 3D fighting is everything is what I found is that sometimes the pals you verse, like the bigger bosses and everything that have like the health bar, they'll get
Yep.
like stuck in a spot, and you could really just
Oh
sit
yeah.
there. You could really just sit there and shoot them, and they like there's a glitch that they won't move or react to it because they're stuck. And you're like, okay,
Yep.
well they need to fix that. They made an update that if the PAL is stuck in a spot for so many seconds, it'll just respawn back to its like normal spot zone, and you just have to go back to it and start fighting it again.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I had that like once or twice, but yeah.
yeah, but it's a great. I think out of any game I've ever played with 3D realm fighting, it's by far the best. And I like how all the PAL moves are all very specific and all use different area effects. Some of them are heat seeking, some of them are like where you're pointed, some are like go through the ground. I think there's a really good variety of how to utilize the space as well.
Yeah.
But
No, dude, I 100% agree. Yeah.
yep, I do. I wish that they had a scope on some of the weapons.
Oh, dude, true,
Um,
true.
I think having a sniper rifle. I do hope they add a lot more different types of weapons to the game because a sniper rifle would be mint.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of another thing too. Like, just in terms of the weapons, I feel like is the AK-47 is that like the only gun that you get?
So no, what I don't like about the weapon system is that I expected when I started the game that I would get a pistol at minimum.
Right.
I did not expect to start with a bow and arrow, but when I started, I was like, okay, I guess it makes sense. You start with sticks and stones, you evolve up.
Right. Right.
But it didn't seem like this would be one of those games where you're not like, I'm not starting out as a caveman. Don't give me a club, give me a gun.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I was hoping you started out with a gun, but you didn't. But you go from like a billy club to you eventually get a bow, and then range weapons anyway. You go from the bow to a crossbow. The crossbow is pretty nice. I use that for like up to like level 25. You'll use the crossbow. But then you get the pistol, and then you get actually before the pistol, you get like this single shot rifle like they used in the Civil War. You know, it's like you do one bullet, and then it's like
Oh, you gotta do the big old.
yeah, the big
Yeah.
no like the pour the gunpowder down the barrel, and it's a forever load. You're actually better off skipping it and just using the crossbow forever because it shoots so much faster.
Right. Right.
But you get like that rifle, and then you get like a single shot rifle that loads quicker, has bullets like a hunting rifle, and then you get like the
Yep.
pistol, but it's like a makeshift pistol, like you made it in a prison, and then you get like a legit pistol, and then you get like this really crappy shotgun, and then you get like a really awesome pump shotgun, so you slowly upgrade it. But
Yeah.
by the time you get but a lot of them you'll just skip because they're just so inconvenient because of how long they take to shoot.
Mm.
But then bullets take forever because there's so many different types of bullets in the game too that you have to like make these different
Right.
bullets, and they all require like similar resources. But
Yeah. Yeah. I almost feel like the game is trying to go for like two different vibes where like maybe at the beginning they were like, oh, it's gonna be like Breath of the Wild where you're like, in the wild just surviving, and you got to start off with the billy club and all that. But then there's another vibe that's trying to like peek its head through where it's like, yeah, you're gonna get so many guns, you're gonna be running and gunning, taking down all these enemies. And I kind of want them to like focus on like the latter. Like for example, instead of focusing on like, oh, wood and stone and all that, maybe just like I want my base to be like a whole artillery. I want to go back to my base and like I got like 20 guns I can choose from, lock and load a whole bunch of them, walk out, do my thing. If they're going to focus on the player being the most important part of the battling,
yeah, agreed. What I
yeah.
hope, what I would want, some of the Pokemon or the pals. Sorry, I keep doing that
Yeah.
now. I started it. But might be the red hat. But
Oh, yeah.
some of the pals have like the little flame fox or whatever, he turns into a flamethrower. There's some pals that turn into like really cool weapons that are
Yeah.
really awesome, but the problem is that you can only use them for like a very short amount of time, and then it has like a really long reload phase. But there's only a few of them that do it because there's so many pals that like I think half the pals are just you ride on the back of them.
Yeah.
I don't need to ride on
Yeah.
the back of every pal, unless unless it involves like a weapon. Like Gruzzlebolt is one of my favorites. I actually have one that has like all the best passives because I bred him.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he turns into a submachine one of those big submachine guns.
As you see in the promotional art.
Yeah. So some of those are really cool, but they're so limited, and honestly, they don't do nearly as much damage as your other weapons. So they really need to either buff those. I wish they would get away from either the weapons in general,
Right.
or just and really emphasize you using your pals, or really buff one. But right now it's like the pals I feel like are all just meat shields.
Yeah, no, I think they need to pick and choose at this point, because I think they're on the path of doing something really great with one of them, because I feel like it's just they're both too far separated for them to both work at the same time, unless they do some like godly balancing and make it to where both can work like incredibly well at the same time. But yeah, no, I agree. I just think that they should focus on one or the other. Either make it a Palworld game or a gun world game,
Yeah, it's gotta be the one. And the same thing goes with the base making and the fighting the bosses, because I feel like all these bases, the big bases don't have a big point, and they're really cool, but as a player who wants to go, as you see in Palworld, the amount of players typically dropped, and I think it's because a lot of people like me, because I haven't played in over a week now, is that you kind of just beat the last boss, and you're like, I mean, I can go back and I can go build some cool bases and stuff like that, but there's no like more content. Like in Ark and some of those survival games that are like survival games, there's always more stuff. And they want to build the bigger bases because of this, that, and the other. And there's constant enemies you're fighting. But right now, it's just like your big bases don't help you really. They're just kind of cool. But what's the point? Because they're not going to help you. And once you defeat the last boss, you're like, twiddling like in its predecessor or rival Pokemon.
Right.
When you beat the Elite Four, you're kind of done. You're like, cool.
Yeah.
Give me the next game.
Yeah, you have the option to catch them all or whatever. Which did you end up getting them all?
You gotta get them all. I think there's like 2 that I'm missing because there's a lot of pals that are only offered at night and only offered in certain areas at night.
Okay.
And so I did speed up my nighttime because I just did. It's hard to see, and you get cold, and it's just
unless you have a torch equipped at all times, you cannot see.
Yeah, well, later on, one of the ancient technologies is a hip lamp, so that way you always glow at night. And then the Fox's PAL special PAL move. If you have the PAL out, you'll never freeze if you throw that PAL and he's walking around you.
Oh, that's cool.
So they do have things with it, but I just didn't care at night, so I had my night sped up. But there's a few pals I didn't get, but a lot of them you get naturally. But what I do say is the variety of pals, I think half the pals are the same as a different pal, but they just have a different type. Like there's there's like a grass panda, and then there's like the electric version of him, like electric and grass. Like a lot of those pals are the same pals. Yeah, it has like the same body. They just change the color of the pal and give them that type. Like late game, there's like a big, it's basically Gyarados, but it's like a big Gyarados. And then there's it's called I can't think of his name. Anyway, but there's the off-brand Gyarados, and then there's like the fire version. They put Ignis at the end, and then there's like a lot of the normal type Pokemon or whatever, or light type Pokemon, they'll have like the nocturnal version of him. Right. That's just the dark version or whatever. So a lot of the pals are just the The
Yeah,
different
just
type.
little variants. Like I think aren't there like the monkeys are kind of like that too? Like there's a green monkey and a blue monkey, something like that.
Yeah, grass and water type. Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of just the pals are just the same types. I'm assuming there's gonna be one pal that is all the types.
Oh yeah, no, sort of a Mew, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, that goes into the next topic super well. What do you think about the designs overall, and the one of the main criticisms of the game being that some of them are way too similar to Pokemon designs?
It doesn't bother me, honestly.
Right.
I think. Well, I mean, you look at any two creatures in the wild, even in the normal, like on Earth, real animals. A lot of them have a
Right.
lot of similarities anyway. Like you look at, there's like a million types of beetles. It's the
Yep.
random one
Yep.
out there, or like monkeys, apes. However you want to say it. There's a lot of different things that look alike. And if you go back to mythic lore and like all that other stuff, Pokemons are all based on real Pokemon, on real animals anyway. So how much did they really take?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Because like at the end of the day, they are all based off of like cats and chickens and sheep. Like
Yeah.
sheep all exist. Like I saw the beginning sheep was compared to like the new one from Sword and Shield. I forget its name all of a sudden. Fluwell, something like that. But it's like it's just a sheep though. Like it's just
It doesn't matter.
there's only so much you can change with a sheep and still have it be a sheep. But
Yeah.
I will say there are a few that I was like, that's definitely like that's
Oh,
that
yeah.
Pokemon.
Of
Like
course.
again, I forget the PAL version of it, but there's like a little white little puppy, and it's like I'm like that's definitely Eevee. Like it's a
Yep.
little, the one I'm talking about, a little fluffy.
Yep.
It's like a little fluffy Eevee, yeah. Like just give,
What?
like it's like the exact same eyes and everything. I'm like, yeah, that's about it.
Well, yeah, and like there's the penguin that looks like Pepe, from
Right,
Pokemon
right.
as well. But I think they did it on purpose as almost like a middle finger
Oh yeah, oh
to
yeah.
Pokemon, being like, you should have made a game like this, and we're just doing this because it's going to stir up controversy. It's almost like a marketing thing. They did this so there'd
True.
be a lot of talk about it. Like, oh, you stole it, but that's how much publicity Palworld got because of that.
Dude, yeah, that's actually a good theory too. Just like oh, so many people are talking about all the similarities and like, oh, was it AI that made the pals or stuff like that? Yeah, that could just all be like a big old marketing thing just to get people talking about it. Because I know that the Pokemon Company put out a statement on Twitter where they said that like, oh, we're gonna look into this. They didn't name drop Palworld, but obviously it's Palworld. They said they're gonna investigate it. So like, if I was in charge of Palworld, I feel like the whole entire goal would be essentially like milk the controversy until Pokemon comes knocking. Hey, we already got the design changes. We'll throw the update on tomorrow. No lawsuit. We already got the clicks, the buys. Perfect. Which, I mean, like, honestly, I think is just, I mean, it's a great strategy.
Yeah, well, they actually don't have to even change their content, because if you look at copyright laws, they changed it enough that it's unrecognizable, and
True.
it works. Because I mean, it
Yep.
is what it is. That's like not only for like gray mat assets and stuff like that, but like just basic products in the market. Like someone takes your
Yeah.
formula of shampoo and they change it just a little bit, they're okay.
Yep, I think the specific number, if I'm not mistaken, is there has to be like 5 discernible differences, and it could be anything. It could be like, oh, the color's different, legs are longer, has different color eyes, hair's a little different, and it weighs more, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
random
that's
stuff.
where all those, you ever go to like festivals and they're selling like bootleg Pokemon toys and all that stuff. Go to Goodwill. You got some, bootleg looking Charmander. I mean, companies have been doing this far before Palworld and anything like that. You can go online and find a bootleg Snorlax plush that costs 10 times less than the normal one does. Maybe its eyes are a little different, but
It has a weird ear.
yeah, right. There's one ear on the top of its head.
Whatever works.
Yeah. But yeah. With that said, other than that, really, I'm just kind of thinking like the little things now, like graphics, music. What did you think about those?
Uh, if you can get the full graphics to work on your computer, I think they're beautiful. I think they actually
Yeah,
go way beyond what Pokemon ever did. But they also are can full advantage of using PCs instead of
yeah.
the Nintendo Switch's graphics cards.
You're right. Yeah,
Um,
this would not be able to run on the Switch.
no, so they're really in depth. I really love them. It has a lot of views of like similar to Breath of the Wild, which I really love. So the atmosphere of the game I love. It's great. I do think it's kind of repetitive and dull in a lot of areas. I
Yeah,
wish it was a little
yeah.
more filled, but that might come with it. But even like Breath of the Wild and there's a lot of games out there that they're just kind of empty. It is what it is.
Yeah, just open world games in general at this
Yeah.
point. In fact, I think the game that did it the best when it came to the open world was a game I played called Ghost of Tsushima, where it's like a samurai open world sort of a game, and that one does it really well because it's like every you get done with a mission over here, you walk 5 feet this way, there's a dude getting robbed. You save the guy from getting robbed, you walk 5 feet this way, there's a dude being held at gunpoint. You save him. You know, it keeps going and going. There's a million things to do all the way across the map, which that's not necessary for all open world games, but it does certainly help when there's a lot more things to accomplish. But I'm not really sure what I would add into this game. Maybe just like I'd throw in a few more like villages, some people to
Yeah.
talk to.
Yep. So there's only I think the NPCs need to play a lot bigger role. Because
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, there is the small settlement which you'll hit like right away,
Yep.
and then late game in the desert area, there's this like temple castle area that has like the different market people in it, but it doesn't really have anything to it. I wish there was like you went there. They probably went out later, but I wish there was like missions that you got school items with them. But I wish that
Yeah.
those and every now and then you find like the syndicate base or whatever. There's like little fort. They have like a Pokemon or a pal in a cage in the middle. I wish there was like bigger bases, and I
Yep.
wish all the major people like had like a big major base that you could go in like invade, destroy, and that was like part of the story is that you had to demolish all these groups of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like if there was just more NPCs like that weren't just annoyances that pop in the map and just shot at you. I wish there was just like more to it to those.
Yep.
That I think that
Yep.
would really liven the map. And then if the pals had a little more into them. I don't know if I want all pals attacking me all the time. I mean, they do if your level is significantly lower, they attack you, which is annoying.
Right. Right.
If there's just something, I feel like having more NPCs involved and a lot of that stuff would make it a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that goes back to the whole like not really having any cutscenes or story.
Which it probably
Uh,
will later.
Yeah, exactly. Like it will later on, but it definitely needs. There's definitely. I think the game's trying to find its personality right now, and I think it's right on the cusp of getting it. But I think it just needs a little push in the world building department. Like, yeah, like we're saying, just make some more villages, have the people mean something more. Like the first guy that I came across, not the chick that I beat up, but there was like a different dude that was like sitting in front of like a little castle-y area, and it like blew my mind because I was like, oh my gosh, another person, and then I talked to him, and he's just like, hey, what's up? Like nothing really important. I'm like, man, that's
I captured a lot of them, and
yeah,
yeah, if you heard now, you just capture them like other pals. I think I have like 40 NPCs that I caught.
Yep. It's like have you got nothing for me? It's like that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I guess last things wrapping it up. Did you have anything else on your mind? Otherwise, we can go into what we hope for in the future.
I wish the NPCs you caught kept their weapons. A lot of them don't keep their weapons. I
Yeah.
feel like the drops. I wanted the drops to be better. I wish there was more unique items and that they like did stuff. There's a lot of the items you drop that look really cool. Like when you feed a dragon Pokemon, you can get like a dragon's pearl, or like there's a dragon claw. You can get
Ooh.
there's cool feathers. All these resources don't have a purpose except they just say can be traded, or like a big one is like when you defeat like the big major Pokemon like the PALS, like the big bosses. A lot of them will drop like these rare pelts and stuff. I wish that you could like use them because all like I think over half the items that are, or all the items that are like really really cool looking items have no significance. They just say you can sell this to a merchant. I'm like, and then like you don't. I don't feel like I use gold very much because none of the merchants have anything that are good. You know, like I'll buy like I bought a cool pair of bunny ears for my character because it was a random hat, but they're just. I wish they were cosmetics because all their armor sucks, so you can't really use them to battle with. I wish you could buy cosmetics like that from the merchants. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, most definitely.
And it's like they eventually, I think they're gonna add more to like the bases, to like cool, unique furnitures and stuff. But I just feel like the cool items you do drop, I just want them more purpose. I wish there was just more in depth, and I wish there was more strategy because I feel like for your like all the pals you catch, like you can catch different Pokemon pals and their types, and they have different abilities and partnered abilities. But eventually you'll use legendaries anyway because who really cares?
Right.
But so I wish there was more uniqueness in designing your character and making your character more unique. Whether it be like you get you're gonna go get that cool weapon because there's not just like weapons like the assault rifle is gonna be better than the pistol. So once you get the assault rifle, you're never gonna use the pistol again.
Exactly.
I wish there was different weapons all in the same tier so you could like create a unique strategy, especially when PvP comes out. Whoever has the legendaries and the max legendary assault rifle is gonna win. I wish there was different.
That's it. Yeah.
I wish there was different strategies. You know, different weapons. You know, besides I have a pump shotgun too, but I wish there was just different ones. Or like the bow. I wish the bow was a lot better. The bow's cool, but
yeah. I agree, and that goes into my kind of like final thoughts too. Is I think if they're gonna take inspiration from Pokemon, I think they need to go a few more steps toward that direction if they're gonna really pump up the action. So, like for example, as you were saying, instead of it being a definitive like, now that I have the legendary and the big old bazooka, I've won the game. Instead, I have it to where like maybe I want to use the little chicken until the end of the game. Maybe I want to be able to raise my Pokemon and use my weapons that I prefer instead of having to move to the ones that just happen to be the strongest.
Because you won't defeat the bosses otherwise. It's so hard.
Right. So you just have to move to the strongest thing. So, yeah. But I think that's about it. So, dude, overall, what is your rating? Now that you have beaten the game, putting all the time you can into it, out of 5, what is your rating for the game, bro?
I'll give it a strong 4.
Okay.
I did love it. I put a lot of hours to it, but I feel like the extra 1 star comes from because I know there's gonna be better content coming.
Yeah.
But I feel like there needs to be a better end because all this build up. I mean, well, eventually you're like your bases are useless because they're not producing what you need. They're not producing. You just don't need them anymore because there's certain items you just don't need. But I feel like when I caught all the legendaries first, and then I fought the final boss last because I was like, well, I'm not going to defeat the final boss and go get legendaries. Because what's the point? But I feel like once I defeated the boss, there wasn't like a cutscene to make me feel good about it. There wasn't a reason to kill him. Like I don't know why these were bosses and why I needed to fight them.
No, right. You kind of just do it.
Yeah, because like in Breath of the Wild, you fought Ganon, or I feel awful not knowing his last name or his name. But there's usually like the boss of the game that like has significance in why you want to defeat him. I feel like there wasn't any reason to kill the guy. I was like, besides like I just want to kill you. I don't know why.
Yeah, right. And that's definitely something they could have at least added in through like text, maybe like I don't know, when you enter the room, there's like their evil plan was unfolding. or I don't know, something.
Yeah, like, or they like trying to like turn on the pals evil, and like that's why they're fighting you. So like when you defeat the final boss, all the
Right.
pals are happy or something. I just feel like there needs to be like
Mhm.
I did that instead of like I killed the guy. All right, I mean killing him, I didn't feel any more special killing him at the end than I did punching and killing the first villager I saw.
Right, exactly. You're doing the same thing at the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah, that or like I wish I could conquer like the island and I'd be like the king and everyone listens to me.
Yo,
And then you're
yo, yeah, like
it,
you're the bad guy all along,
yeah, like
dude.
if you could like make your base and like advance your base, like conquer territories and have
Yep.
those and make those territories under your control, like that, and then like that would be eventually it's like Risk where like I own the island and then you win the game. That'd be great, but I feel like it's not. I feel like
Yeah.
you kill them and then like you're like, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
like I don't.
Exactly.
So it's just missing that content. It's
Yeah.
missing it.
Yeah.
Great start, great to it. I love it. One of my favorite games still, but
Yep.
it's just missing the meat.
That little bit of flavor to it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I think that's the perfect way to put it. This is by far the best early access game that I've played. I
Oh,
think
yes.
what they have here is like absolutely phenomenal. I just think my final thoughts is that they need to focus on one major aspect, either being the pals or the guns, and then just add in that extra character, villages, story, world building. Focus on that stuff over the course of however long, and I'll we'll be there for every update. So yeah. So I will give it a 3 for now. Mostly just because I haven't played that much of it, but I will get into it a lot more. But I'm really betting on. If I was a gambling man, I would be betting on the future updates coming out and those being pretty good. So
Yep.
I'm willing for that score to crank up for every update that comes out. But yeah, we'll keep you guys updated for every single update, or just the big ones whenever. But yeah. Noah, any final thoughts?
If you haven't played it, I'd give it a shot. If you're not that big into building games, you can tweak the settings to make it so you're really just going out and find the pals more so. But definitely give it a shot. And if you're waiting for if anything, wait for the next update to come out. But it's definitely worth the time.
Yep, 100%. Yo, Noah, thank you for coming on, guys. Please make
Thanks for
sure
having
to
me.
subscribe. Noah, what was your what do you want to link to the audience again? Your TikTok and YouTube. Where can they find you?
So Willow's Remorse, a TikTok stream, all those things.
Yeah, all the above,
all the T's.
TikTok. Yep.
They're all on there.
Yep. But with that, guys, we shall see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
See you again.